Okay, welcome to this edition of the Best of series. We're really diving into some deep topics here, and I'm doing this intentionally because I want to get to the root of what women are actually experiencing. And these are all things that have root cause reasoning, I guess, best way to put it. And everything is connected to everything. So there is a direct relationship for women between money, sex, and power, and feeling powerful, and our relationship to the masculine and men in our lives. Everything is, there's a common thread that runs through all of it, as well as our pelvic region is connected to our sense of empowerment and money and feeling safe with money. And I really believe this has been a huge part of my own transformation journey. And I have a course on this that I created quite a bit ago, a 10-day audio course. And I'm going to place it in the link of the show notes here if you want to get more in-depth guidance around how do you start taking charge of this area of your life, just like I've had to. But what I have really learned in this whole thing is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so if we start in one area, it creates a ripple effect everywhere else. So if you're trying to regain your power and you don't have financial and money autonomy, then you need to go and get some. That's like your number one order of business. I want that for every woman. I don't care even if you're in a healthy relationship with a spouse who makes a lot of money, maybe you don't have to. You need your own financial autonomy, because if you decide you want to leave, you need to be able to financially do that. And too many women put themselves in these positions where they don't have the means to leave. And I don't want that for any woman. Now, on a side note to this, obviously the women I work with, they have high-level careers. They do have financial autonomy. Many of them have been the financial breadwinners with a spouse that doesn't work, and they're financially supporting them. They're giving them credit cards in their names and giving them access to their bank accounts, which is a recipe for disaster and financial abuse in the way that they're misusing the funds. And so I'm really sharing this for both sides. If you don't have this financial autonomy, your accounts are linked and you don't have the ability to buy anything without your spouse knowing. This is what I hear a lot. Hey, I want to join your program, but I'm afraid my spouse is going to see it and I have to deal with it. You need to have your own bank account, period. That will take you, an hour to go and do. And it will already, just that one thing, shift everything. Now, I'm not giving financial advice, but I think it's fair to say that if you work and you have paychecks going into an account, you have every right to have that being a private account. I am very much an advocate of women and men, even in healthy relationships, having their own bank accounts where their money goes into. You can have a joint account for joint things where you're putting money into, but your paycheck should go into your bank account with your name on it. It is your money coming in, and then you do what you need to do with shared expenses if there are any. There's lots of reasonings for this because I've seen so many disasters when women are in relationships that are controlling, toxic, abusive, where the money is controlled. They get themselves in messy situations. And so definitely seek legal counsel. Of course, I would say this to any woman before you go making any big financial moves that could put you in a bad position later on if you need legal action, if you feel you need to do that. But I would say it's pretty safe to say that every woman has the right to have their paychecks going into their own account. You have the right to purchase support, counseling, coaching, help to get out of this situation without someone controlling and looking over every move. So for women in these types of situations, these are the small ways they begin to take back their power. For some women, it is scary to invest multiple thousands in coaching with me. But they also know, well, I'm not going to get where I need to go unless I get the support because I've already tried everything. Now, again, coaching is a luxury. It is a privilege. It is definitely not for everyone, right? It's for those who want that high level support, who want to move forward, who want solutions, accountability, to be able to actually implement what they're doing and put it into their lives to create transformation and permanent change. right? It definitely is. It's a privilege, and it is for those who are in a position to invest in that. I fully understand that. I do have other things for you if you're not in a position to invest in coaching, of course. And this podcast is one of them. I want to help women get out of these situations because I believe that we can break the cycle of generations to come with the money aspect when we break it within ourselves. So if you were raised around financial scarcity, you were raised with beliefs around money's this and money's that, doesn't grow on trees, hard to come by, it's tight, I can't afford it, all these messages, then you are likely, unless you've not examined these and changed them, you're operating from these unconscious paradigms, these unconscious patterns. And then you're teaching those to your children, and then they're going to carry that on. And so one of the biggest ways that you can begin to take back your power is to take back your financial power. And so the episodes in this edition are centered around that. And if you want more help with that, then you can grab my 10-day Women, Money, and Power audio course, where I walk you through simple steps and tweaks, mindset shifts, hacks, things you can do, things that I did to completely transform my views and mindsets around money, and how I was terrible with money and have had to learn how to be much, much better with money, and actually has become an obsession. It's become a passion to read and learn and practice and do all these different things to get back into my financial integrity and stability, really. And so I want that for you. Let's dive into this episode. Love talking about, and it's been a huge part of my own personal transformation journey. I will be sharing more coming up soon in an upcoming class that I will be putting out to those who are on the waitlist for End the Cycle, where I will be sharing more of my journey and what it was that I had to go through in order to radically change my life, and looking back on the steps I had to take in order to get there, to help you sort of see the path forward as well if you are in a place where you feel financially disempowered or financially powerless. This happens with women who are often stay-at-home moms, and they have dedicated their life to raising the kids, and then they end up in a situation where they have a spouse that is financially bullying, controlling. And the irony is that when you're in this type of situation, they will often always have a really rational reason for why they do what they do, that they're just trying to be smart with money, or that they don't trust you with the money. And so you will forever be having to ask for money and getting permission to spend it. It's a nightmare. It really is. And I empathize with anyone who's ever been in that situation, or if you are in that situation, that this is who I'm actually talking to, is if you're in this place, whether you are working or not working, it doesn't even matter, because they can financially control and manipulate the situation regardless. So it's not necessarily women who are stay-at-home moms that just deal with this. I have had clients and have clients who are the ones who are the main income earners, and they're being financially abused in other ways, where their money is being spent frivolously on things when they've said no, or just in ways that they don't necessarily want the money being spent. But again, this goes back to what we talked about in the last episode, taking 100% ownership. Who's the one giving the credit cards away? Who's the one giving them access to the accounts? You have to make a decision around that. If someone is truly mismanaging your money, then that's one thing. So if you truly were mismanaging the money and you're going out shopping every day and online shopping and doing all the buying expensive handbags and putting the family in financial jeopardy, then yes, you might have a spouse that's saying, listen, this is not working. We're not able to afford this, and here's why. And let's sit down and talk about how we can work on this. That's one thing, but not being able to access money for the daily stuff, the daily essentials, that sort of thing, that is a whole other story. So if you're in that place, or you're feeling just otherwise powerless around money, here I'm going to give you some tips, 5 tips, but this is likely, it goes back to programming that you have from your formative years, from your family of origin. And it takes a lot of work to dig into some of those sticky beliefs and images and viewpoints that you have about money and women with money and being a woman with power, being a woman who's financially astute, who's financially responsible, who has autonomy and control over her finances. And it is a journey, I will say, but you have to get to a place where it becomes a top priority for you. And there's not really any way to change it other than that. It has to become top of the priority list. And this is why in my programs and when I work with women, it is one of the first pieces of work that you'll do coming into the program is all of this, like really looking at your values and your goals and the things that matter to you and your priorities and having to shift some things around. This is how you change your life, is by looking at it very clearly and very honestly and looking at where you're allowing things, where you're not taking ownership, where you're not putting enough focus, time, and energy, what's taking away from you being able to do that, and what do you need to change. And a lot of times, most times it's habits, it's not having a strategy, it's having things that work against you or someone in your life self-sabotaging. It could be friends, family, your spouse. It can be so many factors. I get it. And that's why every person's journey is different, because we all have different factors, and our programming keeps us from sometimes taking the steps we need to take, because certain beliefs are holding us back that we don't even see. They're operating under the radar, beliefs about what we're capable of. And so this is for you if you know you need to do better with your finances. And the first thing I have to say really is that women need to have their own resources. Even if you're in a relationship where you are not experiencing financial control, I would still say women need to have access to their own resources. Women need to have their own savings. Women need to start thinking about their own retirements and having their own investments and looking at, where do I need to make more money? Do I need to start a side business? Do I need to grow the business I have? Do I need to go back to school? Do I need to ask for a raise? Do I need to change careers? What do I need to do to put myself in a position where I have a financial foundation for myself? It doesn't have to mean millions of dollars. It might, but wherever you're at, look at it and look at the reality of your situation and look at what it is that you need to do to get where you need to go. Because no one is coming to save you. Even if you have someone that comes into your life that's a millionaire, there's no guarantees that a relationship like that will work, or that the person won't be financially controlling on top of it, right? That can happen. We have to take ownership. So sure, if you have a partner that's also financially stable, that's healthier, that you work together with, is maybe they have more resources than you, but you're not coming to the table empty-handed. You're not coming with no resources, no money, no assets, nothing, right? You need to have some of your own so that you do not fall prey to getting in the wrong situations, but also the feeling of needing to be able to take care of yourself, to know that you can. Letting go of that mentality that you need a man to rescue you and fix you and save you financially or otherwise. So when you start to transform your beliefs around this and you start changing your mindsets around money and realizing, I am here because of the choices that I have made up until now. Even if that means your bank account has nothing in it, you're a stay-at-home mom and you have no money. You chose that path. We have to take ownership of that. And then we ask ourselves, is this working? Yes, I want to be around for my kids, but what is it that I need to change that might actually be uncomfortable, or maybe it's not really what I want to be doing, but I need to do to put myself in a different position here. So as I said, it could be starting a side business. It could be freelancing. There's so many different ways that women can make money nowadays with online businesses and online everything. There's so many things you can do. The world has so many possibilities that have opened up with technology and the ability to work virtually. Like my coaching business is 100% virtual. I don't even have a local office anymore like I used to. Everything is done virtually, and I get to work with women all over the globe, literally all over the world. And I'm so grateful for that. And I get to work around my kids. So to say that there isn't something where you can have the best of all worlds, that's not true. You can, but it takes seeing the possibility and going for it. So here are my 5 tips if you are feeling trapped, stuck, fucked with money. Number 1, again, is taking 100% ownership. If you didn't listen to the 100% ownership episode, it's the episode right before this one, so please go and listen to that one. So everything starts with that, taking 100% ownership and the no one is coming to save me attitude. It's accepting. No one is coming to save me. And you don't want that anyways. You want to have a partnership that both are bringing things to the table financially and otherwise. You still want to be a primarily stay-at-home parent. That's fine. But you're going to need to figure out how you're going to make some income on top of that. And there, as I said, there are just endless ways to do that. Number 2 is get a job. If you're not able to do your own business or grow the business that you have or wherever you're at, if that just doesn't seem like a doable idea, or maybe you've had an idea rolling around in your head forever, but you're just not taking steps toward it, or it's just a matter of going to get a job. Whatever it is, you need to take that step. So taking the step with the business, taking the step with putting your work out there, or taking the step to get a job so you can start putting some money away in an account and build a foundation for yourself. A little savings account, what have you, for yourself, and also an empowerment account. That's what I called it. And that was for me to have my own foundation. And that foundation, that account, set me up to be able to buy all the things I needed to buy post-separation, getting myself some nice furniture and things that I needed to get for my home. And it came in really handy because I was able to pay for all this stuff I needed with cash. So your empowerment account could be for anything. It could be that you want to be able to pay for coaching, for instance. Well, you have that in your empowerment account. You want to go get your nails done or take a class or whatever it might be. Or it is literally your empowerment account to get out at some point. Doesn't matter. The point of it is that's what I called it because I didn't want to label it something negative, but my empowerment account was my finances that I got to choose what to do with, and I just kept putting money into it and saving and saving and saving. So that's number 3 is start saving. Put it in some kind of account. Now, mind you, you do need to think about this legally. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a lawyer. However, if you do separate in most states, I know at least here in Canada, that anything you have in a savings account is equally half your spouse's, which is absolute shit, but that is how it works. So there are some workarounds around that. But you just have to keep that in mind, that anything you save will be up for division, unless it's different where you are. So find out. So number 3 is to save. Number 4 is get financially healthy. And that means changing your mindset about it. Looking at your beliefs about money. Do you think it's selfish or bad for some reason to want lots of money or to want to have more than enough money? Do you think that are you often someone that is like, oh, that's so expensive, like, oh my God, that's so expensive, or I can't afford it. That's not financial health. That is financial negativity, right? And maybe you don't have the money to buy a certain thing. But here's something that I adopted many years ago, and I still do. I do not say I can't afford something. Even if it's maybe not in the budget, or I'm like, oh, that's a lot for that. I have switched it to, I don't want it, or it's not a priority right now. Because if it's a priority, we find a way, right? We always find a way if something becomes a priority. And there's lots of times when we're like, oh, that'd be nice to do that, or it'd be nice to travel there, or I'd like this, but I can't afford it. Or is it just that it's not a priority right now? So shifting little mindsets around that, because realizing we spend on what we value. Like our spending is usually very much aligned with what we value the most. So the top things that you value is where you will put the money, right? That's where you will spend. So for me, two of the biggest ones is on healthy food and programs, books, coaching. probably mostly coaching and programs, because one of my highest values is learning and growth. So I spend thousands every year on coaching programs and learning new things, to change myself, to learn more about relationships, about myself, business as well, to develop myself as a business owner and as a coach and all of those things. So I buy a lot of learning materials and books and continue my own learning. So look at where you spend the most of your money and you will see where your values are. And sometimes you need to shift those around, right? It's all about shifting how you're doing things, because you admit what I'm doing is no longer working. So getting financially healthy it starts with a mindset shift, shifting our psychology around money. And then the fifth is literally become obsessed with learning all you can about building your wealth. Your wealth might be something totally different than what mine would be. But it's getting really honest and looking at your situation and realizing, like, do you have the ability to buy yourself medical insurance if you leave and you're under your spouse's? Do you have the ability to pay for prescription meds if you need them, or other medical fees that if you need them? Do you have that? If you don't, then that needs to be something you look at. How's your credit score? How's your bills, your debts? Like, looking at it all, as hard as it is. And then learn all you can about saving. How do I plan for retirement? What do I need? How much do I need? How am I going to get there? Especially if you're later in life and you're figuring this out, right? It's not hopeless. It's just a matter of realizing, like, I want to bury my head in the sand around this, but I know I can't because no one is coming to save me. I have to save me. There's a book that's called Prince Charming Isn't Coming. And that's a really good book for women. It's written for women. That is all about this. A reminder that In the Cycle will be opening in August for enrollment. If you're on the fence about whether to stay or go, or you know you need to leave but don't know what steps to take, or you doubt yourself at every turn when you start thinking you need to go, then this is the program for you. To get on the wait list and be the first to know when enrollment opens, head to the link in the show notes or leanneoten.com/masterclass. It's an older book, but it is a classic. So if you want to kind of get that backstory around how women can get empowered around money and stop waiting for a man to come and save them, very good book. So I recommend that. So it is about really taking ownership. Then you have to take the action, which is getting a job, building a business, starting a business, doing a side hustle. It doesn't matter what it is. Some women do things that are as simple as starting up a house cleaning business. You can make some pretty good cash doing that, and it's cash, which has its benefits. If you just charge cash, and then you can put that cash somewhere. That's all I need to say. The third is to save, squirrel it away however you can. Number 4 is getting financially healthy. So this starts with your psychology, looking at your past and history around money and the patterns that you've learned around money. So it starts within first. And it starts with changing how you think about money and how you speak about money, and removing words and phrases like, I can't afford it. And then the 5th is become obsessed with learning everything you can about making money, keeping money, spending money, managing money, all of it, for your future and for your present. You can change the trajectory of your situation in your life, but it starts with no longer staying in that victim place and relying on someone else. Yes, even if it's your spouse, because you've learned that you can't rely on other people. And this is about no longer needing that. It's about taking 100% self-ownership for your own life in every area, all of it, everything. Every single thing that is in your life or not in your life. I take 100% ownership and responsibility over this, and therefore that means I'm the only one that can change it. No one is coming to save me. If you take on and adopt that mindset, get support if you need it, learn all that you can, and just focus in on that, everything will radically shift for you, I promise. It's transformational to get to that place where you're no longer pointing the finger at someone else for being the reason why you are where you are. Okay, so I hope you found that episode enlightening and maybe it's given you some new shifts in perspective. Here's something I recommend that you can do is pause it here before we get into the next session of this and take some notes. Write down the ahas, write down some things that came to you that you can do to start improving your relationship with money, your mindset around money, your autonomy around money, and then take action. Actually do something about it. If you're one of the women that has messaged me over the years or months recently that is saying, I want to get coaching with you, but I feel like I need to save my money, save it for divorce, or I don't want him to see it. This is exactly where you're leaking your financial power. So if you feel like you're someone that's a fit for coaching and you want the powerful support because you're ready to change, your first step might very well be investing in yourself to get that transformation. We can do some coaching around this as well to help you really move out of these patterns of stuckness around money and not allow that to be the reason that you continue to stay in something that is taking years off your life, right? What's that worth to you, right? If we don't have our health, we have nothing. And these relationships start to steal your health. If you are leaking your energy around money, you are also impacting your health. It will make you ill. So regaining your power in this area will heal you in so many ways and make so many more things more possible for you. If I could really explain to you what all of this has actually made possible for me, I'd be here a while. I do talk more about it in my Women in Money course, but when you open up to this and you start seeing what's possible for you, and you start changing how you think and feel and manage and deal with your money and spending it in alignment with your values, and you are learning how to be responsible with it, and you're learning to invest it in things that give you an ROI. Coaching definitely gives you a lifetime ROI, but you're too afraid to spend it because you are in scarcity and you're worried it's not going to come back to you in some way. These are probably areas you are leaking your money energy. All right, so let's dive into part 2 of this podcast. We're going to talk about a big kahuna of a subject, and that is money. And I really could go on and on and on about this subject. It actually is something I am very passionate about, really, because it's been a huge part of my own journey, is going from completely financially disempowered and dependent to financially empowered and independent, and actually moving into learning how to invest and build wealth and making some decisions around my business because I've reached a certain level that requires me to do other things, such as get incorporated and other things that I'm looking at that I never thought I would ever be making these kinds of decisions. So it's really exciting, but it's also something that I have to really look back and remember the version of me that was so completely out of my power when it came to this area. So we have to look at our past, like how we were raised oftentimes, because that always plays a part in our present, as we talk about in relationships. Where we feel disempowered is often where someone will come along and overpower us. So I hear a lot of you saying that you feel very controlled and powerless around money, and that your partner, spouse, husband controls the finances. And so that makes sense, right? Because you've given away your power in that sense. The other thing I hear a lot is when I met him, I had a job, I had a career, I had a good income, and then we had kids, and he convinced me to stay home and just focus on that. And slowly over time, I lost more and more and more of my power to where now he has all control over the finance. I don't even know what's happening with the money. I have to ask for money for things. Like, it can get that bad. And I know that you don't want to be in that place. I get that. And so this is a big topic. This is not going to be something that's going to fix all of that for you, but I want it to be something that starts to get you thinking. If this is you, if this is not you and you are financially independent and you're doing well that way, which a lot of women I work with are, so it's not an issue. Especially if you're in my program or if you're working with me one-to-one, obviously you need to be having an income in order to invest in coaching and high-level support. But I know not everybody is in that place, so I wanted to create a podcast to send you if your big complaint is, I don't have any of my own money. I can't join your program. I can't leave. I can't do this. I can't do that. So I feel trapped. So I want to give you some things to think about and take away and some action steps if this is the camp you're in. Some women are on the other side where they are wealthy, they have good money, but they are supporting a partner who is not working and is not pulling their own weight. So that's a whole other side. But for this episode, I want to talk to those of you who feel like money is a big limitation. And I'm not going to be able to go deep into all this. In fact, in my program, and the Cycle Evolve, there is a bonus program in the course itself called Women, Money, and Power, because the subject of money and power are very much linked energetically. So if you're in a situation where you have no access to your own money, this means that your partner has the money all in his name, you don't have your own way to debit or swipe or do things that you need to do for your own sake. Or I hear women saying, I want to join your program so badly, but he's going to see the transaction on the history, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do to explain that, or I'm going to get in shit and all this, right? So you're in that kind of a situation. Then really, and this is a little bit of tough love, I'm not here to tell you what you need to do because maybe you're fine continuing with that for now. But if you are sick of that and you know you want something different, then you have to move this piece to the top level of your priorities list. It has to become a higher value. So right now it might just be lower on your value scale. You might be valuing other things right now or putting your time, energy, and priority and focus into something else, like figuring out the relationship, figuring out what your partner's doing, trying to keep all the fires being put out everywhere. So you're not actually thinking about, what do I need to do that's in my best interest? That's actually ultimately in my children's best interest, if I have children. Is me being financially dependent and disempowered the best thing for me in the long run? Or if you have kids, what are they witnessing? What are they going to learn? We often tend to repeat what we see and what we live. Or sometimes we swing and go in the opposite direction. But generally, we tend to repeat some of the patterns that we witnessed and grew up around. So if the normal thing in your household growing up was your mom tended to your dad, waited on him hand and foot, he worked, she was at home doing all the things, then you might end up in a certain situation where you want a man to take care of you. When I was growing up, my dad often said, you need to find a man that makes a lot of money because it's a tough world out there. He said that to me so many times that it was drilled into my brain. And it was something that I unconsciously was believing, that there's no way I could provide for myself financial abundance and figure out my money. And so the story was, I'm not good with money. I don't know how to manage money. All my bills were always stacking up and overdue and, in arrears, and just a fucking nightmare, like literally. So I'm speaking from experience. I have to think back to that place, and it was hell, leading to an eventual bankruptcy because I could not pay all of my stuff. It led to me having to shut down businesses as they were being run, and having to pivot and go in a new direction. There were so many things I had to do because everything was a mess. I could literally sit there and say every area of my life was not going well. My health, relationship, money, career, all of it was not going well. It felt like I was failing as a parent and all the things. And so for me, the biggest thing this might not be for you. So I'm just sharing a little bit of my own growth experience. Maybe it will resonate and you can take something from it. But for me, I knew that where I was going to find my power was in learning how to be a financial badass, like to be able to actually learn how to make the money. So I had to really get serious about building an actual business, not a hobby, but a business that is lucrative, that brings me the income I need and want and desire and envision, while also providing service and helping women. So that was the first thing. And then I had to start unraveling like why I would make money, like would make big influxes of money in my counseling practice or have like floods of income. And then I would just be like, where did it all go? It's at the end of the month and it's gone and I don't know where it went. I wasn't on top of all of the bills and everything. And to be honest, while my husband was, I was the one that was home raising my girls while they were younger. For the most part, I was there. He was paying all the things, granted, and I'm grateful for that, but he probably wouldn't mind me saying this. He wasn't the most organized with it. So I'd be getting calls like, your phone bill, you're going to get cut off. And I'd be like, what? And he'd be like, I paid money on it. But he wasn't staying on top of paying it in full every month. So then it was like going into default and stuff. So it's just like everything was a mess. And I kept telling myself, well, I'm not good with that. I'm not good with money. So there's no way I can figure this out. So I was in that place for a long time, most of our relationship when my kids were younger, until I got to a place where I realized that that was not going to be me anymore. I hit a breaking point of, I am so sick of this shit. And I would see people that seemed to have it together and people that had nice things and people that seemed to be able to pay their bills on time. And they had, they weren't having creditors calling them and all of these things. And I wanted to be that person that felt like I'm in charge of my money. I'm on top of it. Like I'm proactive with it. And so as I started to envision what that would feel like, who that woman would need to be, who that woman needed to become in order to earn the type of money, first of all, be the type of businesswoman that could generate that, learning how to manage it, learning how to manage it in a business to keep the business running and doing well. Like all of these things, right? I had to learn all of these things. For you, if you are employed or you have a career where someone else is paying you, like you work on a wage kind of thing, then that would be looking at, okay, so where am I not, just being really a good steward of my money? Where am I not being in alignment and integrity with my money? And instead of kind of turning a blind eye to everything, it's about looking at it face on. So for me, it was having conversations with my husband, many conversations about how I could start having some of my own autonomy in things. And so we made some decisions and some changes as I was doing my own changes and building my business and, getting that all going. So we were able to make little steps in that. But the fact remains is when you have a one-income household, unless you're very wealthy, having a one-income household does make things more difficult. That is just the way it is. When you have two people making good income, it really changes things up a lot. But it was about taking the first steps for me to start realizing what was not healthy and what I was no longer going to engage in anymore. That just didn't feel good anymore. And so then I started, as things progressed, I started to take on paying the house bills. Now I'm like on it. They get paid early. I never miss a month. I have this whole system. I do things on set days of the month where I allocate funds and pay this and pay that and do the business balancing and all those things. And here I am doing all of this. And I once told myself I was bad with money. Like there's no way I could manage money. So the thing is if you think you can't manage the money that you have, if you have a little bit, or maybe it's limited, or you feel like it is a block, if you can't manage the money you have now, then basically you're just telling yourself and the universe, well, don't bring me more because I can't manage what I have now. So there's no way I'm going to be able to manage more coming in. And it is a learning curve. I will tell you that it is a learning curve. So you have to start somewhere. So if you're in a place where you're sick of hearing yourself say, I don't have the money, he controls the money, I don't have access to my own money, I can't afford it, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. It feels so disempowering. It will literally make you sick. It will make you sick. So you have to move Sorry if you're hearing dingling, it's my washing machine timer. But you can hear it. It sings a little diddly every time it's finished. And it's right beside my office. You have to move that to the top of your priority list. So will you do that? Will you commit to, you know what? I am sick as fuck of all of this, and I'm moving this to the top of my priority list to get my money sorted so I have access to my own money, my own savings, my own funds, so I can start making different decisions for me. So that's the first thing. Because without money, our options, they're limited. You know that whole saying, money isn't everything? No, but not having it can sure make life a nightmare when you don't have enough and you can't pay your bills and the creditors are calling and you can't do certain things that you want to do for yourself that will enrich your life and your health and your relationships and just your lifestyle in general. So it does make life easier. It really does. I can tell you, living the reality I had and the reality I have now, it makes life a lot easier. Does it solve all problems? No. But it sure makes a lot of problems go away that were once a big stressor, an issue that would keep me up at night. So without money, our options are truly limited. And my belief is that, and some of you might not agree with this, but my true belief, again, because I've lived both sides, is that you can't be fully empowered when you're broke. If you have no money to your name, no way to do the things that you want to do to grow, then you're not going to get very far. You're not going to be able to get out of the situation that you're in. So whether you're ready to think about how you're going to leave or how you're going to make changes, you need money in order to do that, or you truly will be stuck. So in the meantime, while you're not sure what to do, again, I challenge you to move creating an income and enough financial means so that should I get to that place where I'm done, I know I have the money to do that and take care of myself and my children if need be. So again, it's about making the choice to move getting your money straight to the top of your values, to the top of your values list. And then when it's at the top of your values list, that means it's a priority, which means that you're going to make intentional actions toward that every day because that is your end goal right now. It's at this season. It may not be forever because once you get to a certain level, you can maintain that and you get a system down and all as well, right, in that area. But to change it from the place where you might be where you're completely out of your power in this area, it is going to be, this is my full-time, like this is what I'm focused on right now is how I'm going to do this. So you're going to be learning and reading and researching and listening to money podcasts and figuring out how to do it. So your actions and mentality and energy and mindset and your beliefs about money and your ability to handle money need to be in alignment with I want to live an abundant life. I want to be financially stable. I want to be financially free. Whatever that is for you, you need to have a number. What is that number, right? So these are all things to start planting these seeds. So you have to get to a place where you're just ready to come up with some way, somehow. So I know a lot of women in my community here, maybe it's you, that you're a stay-at-home mom with little ones, just as I was. And you feel like, well, if I go to work, then I'm going to have to go to put the kids into daycare or find a full-time person to look after them, which will eat up a lot of the money I'm going out making, which again, that is a very real concern. For me, I actually, when they were really little, I did things where like I did take, before I went to school for becoming a counselor and all of that. This is like before all of that, before my kids were in school. When they went into school, that's when I went back to school and got my own career stuff going. But I took on like part-time jobs. I worked in gyms for a while. I was certified in weight training and fitness because I thought, well, I'm really into health. I was obsessed with health and healthy eating and all that. And so I went into that direction, which was great. It brought in money. Prior to that, I made homemade organic baby products for my own babies because I didn't want them to be using chemicals. So I made literally everything that went on their body from natural ingredients on my stove in my kitchen. And then that kind of spread when friends that were having babies were using it. And then the word spread and it turned into this little local business. It was not a big thing, but it was my first ever business. And so what I would do is take orders and make the stuff and then deliver it to these busy moms that have babies at home, and I would hand deliver their orders. And so I figured out a way. Did it make a lot of money? No, it got to a place where I had to look at getting it manufactured to get it into stores, and that would I needed some capital, which I didn't have. And so my kids got older where I wasn't using baby products anymore. So that kind of just fizzled out. But just as an example, right, that is, I did a lot of different things. Something you can do that's, when your partner is home, for instance, if that's possible, like in the evenings, like the job that I took when I worked at a gym, it was usually the night shift from 5 till 11. So was that ideal, being home with kids all day and then going to work? No, but it provided me with that income and stability. So I just invite you to look at what the possibilities are. You might be feeling like there are none. You might be feeling like you're truly stuck. And you might be feeling like you're between a rock and a hard place. But what I challenge you to do is to really see if you can prove yourself wrong. Like, what is it that I'm not seeing? Could you start like an organic, clean product house cleaning service, like a higher end? Like, I come in and I do all this stuff and I'm thorough and I'm meticulous and I only use non-toxic cleaning products. Your home will smell beautiful when you leave or when you come home, and you just do like a few of those every week, right? That there's always people who are looking for house cleaners and housekeepers. Like mine, I love her so much, and I pay her her rate is $25 an hour, but I usually give her more. I often give her tips and extra because she's so good, and she's like, I love her and I love her personality, and she's just kind of become part of the family. It feels like when she comes over, she knows my girls and she knows my pets and they all know her. And so that is something you could just as an example, like, is there a business you could start where you're literally working around your kids? Do you need to look at doing some kind of education program? Like the way the world is right now with everything moving online from COVID, like, this is the time to start an online business. It really is. Like, I'm very much, obviously this is how my business is based, but my goodness, it's fantastic. I get to work with women and reach women all over the globe, where I couldn't do that if I just had a brick and mortar's little office set up here. Like my opportunities and reach expanded exponentially when I started working, just moving my business online, like running it from home on my computer. Like, it's phenomenal. It's crazy to me sometimes to think about what is available to us. And I am grateful for Instagram because I would say 90% of women that come into contact with me say that the first touch point was Instagram. So as much as social media can be a time suck and a negative source, and again, there's having boundaries around that, but I'm so thankful. So you can start a business for free. Like, you literally can start a business for free. I did it. I started a business with next to zero, nothing. I started a business on all the free options for things that I needed and paid where I had to, but you can do it for very little. Trust me, you can. So went off on a little bit of tangent, but just to inspire you to look at where you're limiting yourself with your thinking and what are the possibilities. And here's a couple of tasks. Number 1, brainstorm at least 10 ways that you can make the money that you would like to make right now. So if you are someone that I hear from that is, I want to take ETCE when you open again, but I don't have my own money, or my partner will see it, or whatever, is how can I make that money? If it's, I want to be able to get the money together for taking steps to actually maybe leave this relationship, how much do you need? Like, how much do you need to live day to day that you want access to? How much rent would you need? How much is your bills and all those things, and start doing the numbers. It might be overwhelming right now, but I can tell you that nothing can change until you face it and look at it on paper or on a spreadsheet. Like, just put it out there and go, okay, so that's the number. Now, how am I going to do it? So make a list, just brainstorming 10 possible ways. If you don't already have a career, what is, and I'm not saying that having your own business is for everyone. It's not. Definitely, it's not for everyone. Some people feel better when they have the quote unquote security, which isn't always secure, of an employment position. And so what do you need to create with that? Do you need to go back to school? I had a client years ago who was really stuck in lots of ways. And what she needed to do, but was telling herself she couldn't because of kids and commitments with her spouse and just all the things, that she couldn't go back to school to get this certain credential that would increase her wage where she was employed in her career. So working with me, she was able to see, this is actually what I need to do. And I've got to put away the guilt over here and why I can't do it from over here, and what my husband might think over here, or he might not be supportive or whatever, and just do it. And she did it. And it felt so good for her on the other side of actually taking those empowering steps. So I leave this with you to start contemplating how you're going to change your situation. Because if you sit in the situation and keep perpetuating the problem of, I have no money, I'm broke, my husband controls the money, then that's going to continue to be your reality until who knows when, until you finally wake up, or you can start today. So creating a financial plan, brainstorming strategies, facing it head on. If you want a book to read it's not so much strategy, it is about shifting the energy, because there is an aspect to this, I really believe this, that is energetic. And so the book is called Dollars Flow to Me Easily by Richard Dotts. It's a thin little booklet, and it's one I still revisit all the time just to get a dose of inspiration. But the biggest thing is to set your sights on what it is that you want to achieve, but don't fight to get it, in a sense. Like, take the actions that you need to take the inspired action, take the next steps that you're feeling led to take, but not to try and force anything, but do more of the relax, let go, surrender. Focus on your well-being, focus on getting your energy right, focus on your mental state, your emotional state, while taking the actions. So check that book out, see if it resonates with you. And really, my message here, again, it is to address you if you're in this position, are you going to make this your number one priority? Is this going to move to the top of your values list to be financially smart, to increase your financial health, to learn about money, to start paying things on time, to know how much money that you actually need for the things that you want? And think big, right? Think about minimum viable, but then think big. Like, what would be like my pie in the sky dream income, and how much would I need to make? And just start playing around with it, because what does happen is when we start saying and we're declaring, like, I am going to make that money, that is something that I know I'm going to do. And you start thinking about it, and you start putting it out there and writing about it and writing the numbers down and envisioning that, synchronicities start to happen. You'll see connections and coincidences that are just like, whoa, how is this even a coincidence? These signs start to come to guide you, but you've been asleep to it. You've only been seeing things from your very limited lens within what you're living in. And your attention is constantly, if you're like most women I work with, it is so hyper-focused on the chaos that your partner is causing that you're not addressing and dealing with the things you need to do to better yourself and your life and your financial health is very important. It is. Because it's going to create further empowerment or disempowerment if you don't have it. So take those action steps today and really step into learning how to be financially healthy and empowered. And what does that look like? Who is the woman that has the money for the things that she wants? And she can do that on her own without your partner's permission. Because if you don't have your own bank account, I didn't mention this before, but this is a big one. If you don't have your own bank account, you're not financially empowered. I believe in any relationship, each person needs to have their own bank account. Sure, you commingle finances and move money around and things like that, but I believe each person needs to have their own personal bank account that's not attached to their partner, where you have financial autonomy to purchase the things that you want to purchase and spend your money where you want to spend it, as long as it's not impacting the family as a whole, right? So I have to be careful saying that, because some women have partners that are financially abusive and put them in bad financial positions and they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But I'm speaking to you because I know that that's not likely something that you're going to be doing. You're going to be responsible. But I really advocate that women have their own money in their own bank account. So if you don't have your own bank account, that might be another step, that you're putting anything that you're making on the side is going into this bank account. And I'm not a financial advisor, because yes, there's this whole thing about, well, if I save up all this money and then we divorce, is he entitled to half of it and all this? So I don't want to get too far into financial advice because that's not my forte. But right now, I would recommend, as part of your financial empowerment, is to have your own bank account so that you can start putting money aside. So that wraps up what I wanted to say for this episode, and I hope that it's given you something to think about, or some things to think about, or the kick in the rear that you've needed to get this part of your life in order. Start now. The sooner you can start, the better it will be. And I will chat with you again in the next episode. Take good care. If you love this episode, you're going to love being part of my weekly email community. I send out 1, 2, or 3 weekly emails to help you stay on the growth path. And I'll also notify you when I have new classes or programs to help you take your life and growth to the next level. The link to join that email subscription is located in the show notes, or you can always head to leanneoten.com for more information. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Awakening Women Support and join the conversation over there. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again next week. Take care.